All right, so it's been a month since the Johannesburg Council formed its mayoral committee. Today, the executive mayor, Dr. Mpho Phalatse, announced a golden start, outlining the big priorities for Johannesburg for the first half of the year. The mayor joins me now. Madam Mayor, thank you so much for your time. You're promising within about 5 months and a bit to create a city that responds to calls, complaints and queries through better communication with citizens. And this has been a big bugbear for the city's residents. What do you need to fix? How are you going to do it? And I want some practical ideas, because, I mean, are we talking about more people to answer telephones and emails? Are we talking about streamlining phone systems? How are you going to do it?
That's one of them. I mean, we definitely need to streamline. We've got too many apps. Every entity is doing its own thing. Every councillor has to deal with so many different apps, so many different modalities to interface with the city. Imagine if it's difficult for our councillors, how much more difficult it is for residents and other stakeholders. There has to be an easier and a smarter way of doing things, and that's what we will be doing. We'll make sure that we make it easier to interface with the city through various modalities. Online, yes, we want to have an online portal where people can log queries, but also track the progress of their queries and also check resolution for themselves online. We want to have a 24-hour call center where you can pick up the phone and speak to anyone in the city any time of day or night to deal with whether it's paying your bills, checking your statements, or raising billing queries, or whatever the case may be. As you know, we were in government, some of us, between 2016 and 2019, and we started implementing some of these solutions. In social development, we put together the Itemba crisis line for substance abuse treatment, and we've got social workers who are manning those lines, and people can call any time of day or night. It is a toll-free line. It was since extended for gender-based violence services in the last 2 years. So we know that it's possible, and we need to extend that throughout the city so that residents can be serviced any time of day or night. Those are just a few of the examples.
Sure. You've also identified 7 priorities. I'm going to quickly list them. It's getting the basics right, creating a safe and secure city, a caring city, business-friendly, inclusive, well-run and smart. No one's going to disagree with that, and I'm sure that your multi-party committee is on board with all of those things. Where does it start practically? Is it with getting the electricity problem right? Would you say that's day one, the most important thing for you?
It starts everywhere. I mean, luckily, when you have 10 portfolios with 10 NMCs, things can happen concurrently. What we do want residents to understand is that we started in the middle of the financial year. So elections happened in November. We around mid-year now. The financial year ends at the end of June. What that means is that as much as we are allowed by law to adjust existing business plans, existing budgets, we have limitations. We can only adjust up to 10% of what is already in place. But we can plan for the next financial year, which will start on the 1st of July, where we will be able to really make sure that our plans find expression throughout the city. In the meantime, we are starting to identify areas where there is no performance or where their budgets aren't moving, and that is where we will start making adjustments. There are various plans we have for the next few weeks or few months until the end of June. For example, yes, to address the electricity crisis, we will be hosting an energy indaba where we want academics, we want innovators, entrepreneur, investors, and all sorts of people in the energy supply space to come and talk about the energy crisis in Johannesburg, understanding that we're the economic hub of the country and that we can't afford things like electricity outages, load shedding, and we believe that that sort of indaba will come out with solutions. Out of that, we want to send out a request for proposals and start opening up for independent power producers to help us deal with our energy crisis.
All right, so of course the cynics are going to say, oh, do we really need another talk shop? Surely there are enough examples of what we need to do. We need to create our own electricity supply. We need to, as you say, free our city from the curse of the Eskom monopoly. It sounds like you've made up your minds.
Well, I mean, anybody in Johannesburg can tell you that we can't afford load shedding. Johannesburg cannot afford load shedding. We're the economic engine of the country, and we can't afford to be down any minute of the day. Therefore, we need to free Johannesburg of load shedding. But in order to do that, we have to increase electricity supply capacity in the city. And the only way to do that is to open up for more players, because the city simply does not have enough supply. I mean, we've got city power that's sourcing energy now from Eskom as well as Calvin. We know that Calvin will be decommissioned soon. So even what we're getting from Calvin is right now at risk. We're not going to be able to get it much longer. So we do need to start thinking about how we're going to transition.
Talk to me about Alexandria, because that's a township that that is something you're passionate about. Are there immediate plans for that area, which you know is terribly overcrowded and has been neglected for so long?
Yes, definitely. The housing department is spearheading some developments in Alexandria. We've got a few townships that we are targeting, and Alex is definitely one of them. Alexandria needs renewal. We need to go in, we need to give them housing solutions, but not only housing, also bulk infrastructure. If you've been to Alex, you'll know that there's problems with electricity, water, sewer running down the streets, etc. And we need a turnkey solution for that township, and it is on the cards.
That's good to hear. I want to ask a final question about relationships, because of course you need a great team working with you. You need everyone on board and motivated, but you are not dealing with a majority government. You are having to work across political parties. And I want to ask you about the last month, whether there have been any difficulties, whether you've bumped heads in terms of approach to the action plan for the city of Joburg. And if so, I would imagine with a lot of strong-minded, intelligent people in the room, you're going to have some difficulties. What is your approach to dealing with problems like that?
Well, we're very fortunate because the leadership of the various political parties in the coalition have really worked hard to put together a coalition agreement which spells out the priorities, the objectives of the coalition, different oversight mechanisms, different committees that will drive the program of government, and various other interventions. So it really guides our day-to-day work. We're bound by it. The different parties have signed it, and it's really made things easy for us. We had our first coalition caucus meeting last week, Saturday. We are going to be having our first management committee meeting this evening, and so on and so forth. We're putting together the portfolio oversight committees, and so with all of that in place, it becomes so much easier to work. And the fact that we've already spelled out our collective priorities and objectives in the coalition agreement made it easy for us to align, even as we were planning as MMCs. So it's really been wonderful. I've got a great team. They're all mature, they're very experienced and highly qualified from different sectors of society. So it's been a breeze and an absolute joy to work with this team.
Well, good luck as you start implementing your Golden Start plan for the city of Joburg, Mayor, and we will, I'm sure, talk again in the months to come. The Executive Mayor for the city of Johannesburg, Dr. Mpho Phalatse, and also in that plan, you'll be delighted to know, Johannesburgers, that there is a plan to deal with potholes, but also cleaner streets, sorting out cable theft, also renovating clinics and job creation. So a tall order in those priorities. We'll keep an eye on that story. Still to come.